Welcome to the Live It Right podcast, hosted by John and Caitlin Lindsay. We're going to be talking all things health and wellness, from food, fitness, relationships. So if you want to live your best life and live it right, join us for this conversation.
So whether you're a health enthusiast, a busy professional, or someone looking to achieve a more fulfilling life, you're in the right place. Tune in, subscribe, and join our community as we explore the path to living it right.
Let's go. Welcome back to the Live It Right podcast. We made it to episode 2. We got one under our belt, and we're back for episode 2. So today we're talking a lesson we've learned in 3.5 years of marriage. We just hit that milestone, and we've been together 8 years, right about 8 years. I think August might be 9, so
yeah,
it's been quite a while.
We are not marriage counselors.
No, we're not
This
marriage
is just,
counselors.
honestly, our experience of 3.5 years of marriage. One thing that we've learned that we just want to talk about.
Yeah, I think we're both 35, and it's looking back on when we first met, like the growth has been, like most relationships, really, at no point do we ever have a bad relationship, but just the growth has been enormous. The maturity, the getting to know one another, like there's been so many cool things that have happened and so many good lessons we've learned that we're going to share one each. We don't know. I don't know what you brought to the table. You don't know what I brought to the table. Yeah. So,
well, I've even told John before, if we had connected in our 20s, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked. It just, I was a drastically different person in my 20s. And I know that you said that you were very different too.
Totally,
like, just even looking back, I think one of the things that I always tell people, because we got married at 32, 31, 32.
You were 32. I was 31, actually.
3 months, guys. Yep. 3 months. I'm, 3 months older. Yeah. But I say to people, the wait was worth it. No 100%. Doubt. Because we got married later in life, according to, we're from the South, guys. People get out of college and get married right away, which is fine. But it was worth the wait because I spent a lot happened in my 20s.
Yeah, no doubt. And as I said on the first episode, like me getting into mobility work, that was also when I'll say honestly, I was kind of finding myself. I was starting to explore the things and interest I was interested in. I wasn't just going with what the crowd was going. So, we found each other when I was becoming I was on a trajectory to become the coolest version of myself. So, it was the perfect timing, I think. Yeah.
And this is not something I really talk too much about. But just thinking about, you were talking about when we connected, you were just finding yourself. In the same light, I mentioned in episode 1 that I took a job working with 3 men, my parents' age, right out of college, and was single when I moved there. And I lost my dad in high school. And so did not have that fatherly figure. 2 of the men that I worked with really stepped up, and I learned a lot about myself from a male's perspective. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, you just got to know. It added a piece to your life that was important.
Yeah. And I think that was a portion of my life that was very necessary to get me from where I started in those 5 years to 5 years later when I moved here for you. So it's interesting to see how things have. We got married at the perfect time. Yeah. That's it.
But, and we're still maturing and still learning. So.
Oh my gosh. One of my lesson is something that I'm still learning. It's not something that we've perfected by any means.
Nobody ever perfects their life, so we're constantly trying to get better.
Well, so let's maybe.
I'm going to go first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I went first last time.
Because I think it's possible these could overlap, so I want to go ahead and get my stuff out first.
Yeah.
So this is just one lesson learned. There's been a ton, but this is just one that really hits home to me, and I think has been crucially important for our relationship and maybe your relationship as well. So mine is fuel each other's passions.
Oh.
And so what I mean by that is that could be any passion, big or small. Let's go into our example here. Like Caitlin has clearly her number one passion is probably her business, Fit to Entertain. Aside from me.
Very true.
And it's, as I think I might have said this on the first episode, I see you execute stuff to perfection when you're with clients, when you're on display, so to say. But I see the background work of how much work it is, how, tiring it is, how down you can get sometimes. But at the end of the day, you then go execute something perfectly. You come home so energized and jacked up. And, to make sure you get to that point, I think it really helps when I help fuel your passion. Like, you've put a lot on your plate and you're going to execute it, but along the way of, hey, yes, I know you're going to have a 14, 15-hour day, but you're going to get done it one step at a time, like pushing you to, think about it hour by hour rather than like this whole big goal as one thing. Like, as we said in the first episode, again, you're a really hard worker. You're going to put everything on your plate because you can do everything. But then when it comes time to do everything, you get that sense of overwhelm. You get that panic. And as your biggest fan, I love to be there to, give you a little massage on the shoulders and say, hey, come on, you got this. We can get through this. We can get through this.
And sometimes that does mean tough love.
Definitely.
Because one thing he didn't mention, I know he don't want to throw me under the bus, he's being sweet.
I was going to get there, actually.
Oh,
but
the negativity?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I can get negative. Yeah. I can, and in different capacities. And that is one thing I'm working on. But tough love. But I mean, without your support, I'm going to let you talk, but without your support, my business would not be where it is now. Because I'm a firm believer, especially as an entrepreneur, you have to have people in your corner and you have to have people cheering you on, even if that's one, because most often it is one.
Yeah. And you also, we talk about how hard you work when you are doing events, but inevitably you have a kind of volatile job. Like you could crush it for 3 months and then just the nature of people's schedule have a lull for a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And when you're not, you're still working and grinding hard, but the paycheck's not there. That can be tough. And it's, that's when, I'm your biggest fan and, fans got to be there to continue to cheer you on and say, hey, there's light at the end of this tunnel. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, you don't have any events for the next 2 weeks, but what a great opportunity to work on your social media. That's something you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So always making sure there's a way to twist any sort of little negative into a big positive. And you've gotten a lot better at taking my advice. As you said, it has been easy for you to get negative, and me too. Certainly me too. Everybody gets down when they've had long days and stuff. But if your spouse is your biggest supporter, and they're trying to give you support, let it happen, because it's just going to elevate. It's going to elevate the vibe in the room.
We both have people that support us wholeheartedly. I mean, I have a handful of girlfriends who are literally supportive every step of the way. But when you are living under the same roof, you are spending every single day, you are waking up next to someone, going to bed with that person. It's a different type of involvement in your goals and your passions and your dreams.
You see it all.
You see every bit of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I mean that. Blood, sweat, and tears, literal. Lots of bruises too.
Yeah. And there's always more good than bad, but
sure.
Anything in life, for whatever reason, the bad is more, it kind of sits with you a little bit longer. It's I don't want to say more memorable, but it's a little bit more impactful. And you don't, when you're really excited and pumped up, you don't think about being really excited and pumped up. When you're kind of bummed and down, you're like, it's more obvious to you. So
100%.
Yeah, the more, the two of us or anyone listening, watching with your significant other, the more you can just hype each other up and keep them motivated on their passions. I just think positivity is so contagious. So if you're both doing that back and forth, it really is contagious. And, it's going to be rare that you're both having the perfect day. But if somebody's having, 95% a perfect day and the other person's having 45, if that 45% person lets that 95% person, they kind of ride off their vibe, listen to what they're saying, it truly is contagious. But sometimes when you get down a little negative, it's easy to put up a wall and not. I do it too. I really,
yeah.
really do it too. Like, it's easy for me to come home from full-time job. I mean, I'm a personal trainer. I could train 9 to 10 people in a row in a day. And it's not that I've had a bad day by any means. I'm just spent from chit-chatting.
These people are not there just like pumping weights with him. It's full-blown conversation from start to finish. So he's going on 9, 10, 11 hours of talking to people.
It's mental and physical capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great job, but it's,
Yeah.
and again, it's never, you're just spent and then come home and, you know, you could have had the best day ever. And it's opportunities like that where I've gotten better at this is I'm like, okay, I'm now at home. I can work on my own business. I can work on my movement practice. I can study cycling, something I want to get better at. And if I see her pumped up and jazzed up, it does give me a little spark of energy to kind of ride that wave as well. So, a mistake I've made on this, actually, I have notes today. So, we'll probably touch on this in another episode. So, although I think I do a good job fueling your passions, I think there's sometimes I don't. And the biggest example is I am such a creature of habit with my routine. Like, I want to be off my phone. Perfect scenario for me during the week is off my phone, upstairs stretching by like 7:15 p.m. We get up at 4 a.m., so I really want those 8 hours. And my schedule's routine enough to be able to do that. Yours is most of the time, but sometimes it's not. And other times, you know, a lot of times you're like, I want to stay up because you're pursuing your passion. And I think I'm better at it now, but I used to be a little like, come on, let's go to bed. Like, you could be in a perfect headspace to get work done, and I could.
It's like a state of flow.
Yeah, state's a great word.
And when I get in a flow state, my personality, my type A personality, I have to take advantage of that.
No doubt.
Because there are times when I will sit down to do something and my capacity to do it is not there. You have gotten a lot better about that. And I know he means it, you know, he calls that out, but at the same time, he means that as like, correct me if I'm wrong, you want to share that. Like, you want to get in the bed at the same time. Like, it's just, you like doing these things, like that routine together.
I'm just such a creature of habit, and it's
right. And so am I.
Yeah, and I also I almost never get in that type of flow state in the evening too. So it's always been tough for me to relate to, like, oh my gosh, you want to do work at 7:30 p.m. So,
but I can't control it.
Yeah,
it's if it's there,
you got to ride the wave. You really do. I mean, I can relate to that earlier in the day, but I do know the feeling. Yeah. So, and then just one other thing I wanted to touch on is, you know, so as I said, I think biggest passion, your business for sure. But part of your business, a branch off of it is physical fitness, and you work, again, we've just described how busy your job is, but you are passionate about a couple physical endeavors. And, you know, not a lot of times, but every now and then you struggle with having that dialed routine of your workout on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. And I think this is something I do a good job of. If you're gone for a week-long event, it's like, I might not write you out a workout by any means. We'll be like, okay, well, let's make sure on Monday you can probably get like a 30-minute EMOM in, which is every minute on the minute. You pick 2, maybe 4 exercises and do you could do that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Because I like to work out. So I think it's easy for me to fuel your passion there. Like, I remember you even had a event at your mom's, doing some cooking classes at your mom's, and we packed up your bike and your bike trainer so you could still get your rides in there.
Yeah, the mailman would come by every day and they'd be like, what? God.
You're ripping it on the trainer in the driveway.
Literally. I mean, her mailbox is like right where you park. Yeah. So, I mean, you do a fantastic job about that and I will say the way that our brains work is very different. And like for him, like when he mentions, like if I'm at a week-long event, and when he talks, like he's alluded to in episode 1, my mental state, like he sees all this stress. But when it comes to event week, I am like
This flip
on
is
fire.
switched. Yeah, it's cool to see.
It is. It is a tunnel
Flow
vision
state, for
execution.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But as important as physical fitness is to me, I know that delivering to my client is the most important thing. And he does a good job of saying, because I won't say, oh, there's a 30-minute pocket, but he's like, hey, make sure that try and do X, Y, and Z. And he's so good. Like, he'll text me, make sure you get that workout in. How was that workout? Like, checking in on me, not to.
I know you want it.
Right,
I
exactly.
know at the end of it, you'll be like, I'm glad I did
because
that.
it's hard because,
Yeah.
I go to Pilates 3 times a week. I weight train 3 to 4 times a week, and I cycle 3 to 4 times a week, which is hours and hours and hours. So when I go for a full week, getting maybe half an hour a day,
Yeah.
but gosh, that half hour
You
keeps me
get it.
sane.
Yeah.
But it's a really understanding the way that we've worked in terms of that has been really cool. How we fed off of each other that way. This is a good one.
No doubt. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is I've heard numerous people say this over the last couple of years on podcasts and stuff, is usually they're saying it about themselves. So maybe I'll deliver it in that way. When I'm the best version of myself, I think I give the best I can to my significant other and anyone else around me. A lot of people say it when they're like, when I'm the best version of myself, I give the best to my family. If you have children, parents, all that stuff. And it's, at the end of the day, that's what I just want us to do, is to fuel each other to be the best versions of ourselves. Because when we're both, I don't want to say crushing it, because you could imply different things there, but when we're just feeling good, we're working hard, we've got good workouts in, nutrition is dialed, we're interested in similar things, we're having great conversations, like that's the best. And to be in that state more often, I think it takes being fueling each other's passions. And a lot of times that's, hey, one of us is a little down, and it's, hey, let's find a way to get this person back up, like let's make that happen. So
Well, you alluded to, like, I don't have as much of a regimented schedule, but just like you said, the best version, that's so true. And, there are times when, he alluded to staying up too late, getting up too early. I'm working consecutive 17, 18, 20-hour days. Part of it I struggled with for a while was like jealousy that he was still in that flow state of his routine, because I love it so much, but I understand, like, that's part of my business.
yeah, you signed up for it.
I signed up for it, but he's been able to pick apart those feelings that I have and really encourage me to get in what I can when I can. And movement doesn't always mean some crazy workout. It can mean just
it's
stretching.
When you only have 30 minutes, that 30-minute feels way better than like a normal 30-minute workout, and it clears your head too. So it's a nice reset.
Well, this is actually a nice little segue into mine. So
Okay.
I struggled with this because I feel like I've learned a lot of things, but I think one of the ones that kept coming to mind as we have been like sitting on this is communication. And specifically that communication equals connection, and it creates connection. Communication creates connection, and that is something that just like a resounding repetitive in my mind as we were thinking through this. And a lot of the things that you talked about and the improvements I think that we've seen is because we've better communicated with one another.
Yeah, that's definitely from dating 8 years ago to this point is huge. I mean, every couple probably says that. If your communication skills don't develop over the course of the relationship, that's probably a problem. I mean, we're no experts, but that's...
Well, and that's where I was
going.
going.
You end up hiding things.
Yes. And, I say this, I mean, I'll go ahead and bust myself to begin with. I think for a very long time, the first few years, especially when I first moved here, I didn't know how to best communicate with you. I took things very personally. John is very, I would call you like introverted extrovert. He's a forced extrovert because of his career, but he truly is an introvert. I am the opposite. And I will never forget, like, there were days, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. We lived in a carriage house, very small space. This was shortly after I moved here. We did, by the way, live in a 300 square foot apartment for a few months when I first moved here, right?
Maybe like
that?
3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a very long 3 weeks. That he would come home from work, and as he talked about, long days, constantly talking, is he would want to go on a walk. But he'd want to go alone. And I took it so personally.
The funny thing is, you took that so personally. I don't think that happened that many times. I think it was a couple times. Like, literally
I remember those times.
2, maybe 3 times.
But that's just an example of, like, we're complete opposites. Yeah. And, like, when it comes to a lot of circumstances in our marriage, communication really has helped. And I don't think I was not a good communicator from the beginning. I did not. And when I was uncomfortable with something, or something that I knew would make you uncomfortable or hurt you or cause conflict, I didn't know how to communicate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I am still, like I said, when we first started this, communication is something I'm constantly still working on. And honestly, I feel like that is something that we will never perfect.
No, it's
an ever evolving thing, but our communication
get better though, for sure,
has drastically changed since the beginning of our marriage.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things for us is both of us came into this relationship two very independent people, two very regimented people.
Yeah.
To people who had not had to worry about someone else's schedule, feelings, emotions. Yeah. Neither one of us had seriously
very self-sufficient.
And selfish.
Yeah, definitely. Still selfish, honestly.
We're still selfish, yes.
Kind of selfish as a group now, more so, but
yeah,
still self. And I'll actually, this is a great, I'll let you keep talking, but I have a good example.
Yeah. I mean,
recently.
Communication is the foundation of trust, respect.
Yeah.
Which is something we have gone through some things, as every marriage will.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, communication was a couple of things. One of them predominantly with him having the personality that he does and being more introverted was the emotional connection was understanding, okay, well, I need this to fill my cup. Him saying, I need to do X, Y, and Z to fill my cup. I may need to do these things alone. That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean anything. It's just that is how I fill myself. Whereas having John with me and being around him is what filled me. So it was, I know that sounds like so simple, and maybe it didn't happen a ton of times, but the emotion, it was probably like communication is definitely an emotional connection between the two of us.
Yeah.
You've got something to say, I can tell.
Well, within that, I just wanted to make a quick note of, and this speaks to me being an introvert, you being an extrovert, is I don't mind, I wouldn't say I love being alone, but I definitely don't mind being alone. I don't mind silence. Like, I don't mind going on a 10-mile walk and we don't say anything. And I think
I always fill the gaps of silence.
Yes, you're just talking to you're describing the scenery to yourself. But, and this still sometimes comes up as an issue. I think you think like something's wrong if I'm not talking, and it's like, no,
I'm just sensitive.
I don't mind silence, so I don't.
Yeah. Wow. I am one of those people that wants to make sure everyone I'm around is okay. So I
a lot of times we laugh at that now.
Yeah. Well, I will.
Because we go on an evening walk almost every evening, and
this is me.
It's 10 minutes of her talking, and then she looks at me. More often than not, we just start laughing. So.
But yeah. So we talked about just conflict resolution. Communication really does help. Gosh, everything. It's. Understanding when we need space, understanding why we feel a certain way. We have grown light years in this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A really good recent example was probably like a month ago. We have every Sunday we do Pizza Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
She does all the work. But you had a week long event and you had to go. So Sunday, like afternoon, evening, you had to go see a client you would normally see on Monday. You thought you'd be home a little earlier. I don't know what time it got to, but I was like, okay, I could go ahead and start dinner. Like, I think I called you. We were texting. You were busy. So, and anyways, kind of long story short is we ended up eating a little later. I got irritated about it because essentially my argument was, oh, you should have just texted me. I would have like started dinner. And your argument was, I was like, a great argument too. I was busy. I was working, et cetera, et cetera. This again goes back to me liking to go to bed early, all this stuff.
Routine.
And at the end of the day, from my point of view of this actually ended up being it was an argument. My point of view was, well, I want to help so we can get to bed early. If I go to bed earlier, I can execute my job better. I can work out better. I can have energy at the end of the day to get home and pursue my side business. And I want to do all those things to grow, make money, so my wife and I can do cool things and be together more. Like, that is the ultimate goal. And then Caitlin's point of view, correct me if I'm wrong, is essentially the same, pretty much the same thing. Is she's like, hey, I'm here, I'm locked in, focused on an event. Sorry, don't have time to text you. Sorry, I miscalculated my timing. I'm here grinding on a Sunday and then going right into a week long of events so I can keep expanding my business, keep making money, so I can do cool stuff with my husband and have more time. So then we had it was an argument at first, but led to a great conversation. And that was what we were, hugged it out, kissed it out. It was all good.
Conflict resolution.
Yeah, it was conflict
as a
resolution.
result of communication.
That was great that we had that argument. I
thought I was about to say, I loved that.
I didn't love arguing, but
Right.
It's nice to get to the root cause and be like, hey, we're a team, we're in this together.
But to be honest with you, if we did not disagree, if we had perfect communication at all times, there would be no opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
We've grown because of that. And,
Yeah.
it's, my next one, shared goals and dreams.
Oh, you have more than one?
No. That's part of
Oh,
conversation.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
It truly, it keeps the relationship dynamic. It fuels us.
No
and
doubt.
it forward thinking. It really does focus on forward thinking. Like, where do we want to be in 5 years? Like,
What are you working on?
Yeah.
How's that
That's
project
communication.
you're working on? Yeah.
But I also lean on him quite a bit. I could probably talk for an hour about just my brain just works differently. That he checks in on me. He was like, is that a step in the right direction? Is that worth your time? Blah, blah, blah. Because in my mind, my type A personality a lot of times is like, I have to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't sometimes think about, is this actually benefiting me? Or am I just doing this because I feel like I have to? But it's just, and then I think, just from understanding each other and being more empathetic, because I think I've done a better job of communicating what goes on in my world, especially with the week-long events, the late nights, the early mornings, and how that wears me down and what it does to me mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that. To better understand where my head's at and how a type A personality works through all of that. I think I've done a better job of communicating to where we better understand. It was that example you gave of the other night.
Pizza Sunday.
Yeah, the conflict resolution piece of it, but really is being more of him. I'm sure in the conversation, I understood where he was coming from, but also I'm sure he was like, yeah, wow, I'm over here just trying to go to sleep, and she just was working her tail off on a Sunday, is about to go work for a week. It's understanding and being more empathetic towards each other.
Yeah. And it helped to explain both our sides. I mean,
and then the last piece in terms of communication that I am still very much so listening or learning is active listening as well. is not, I'm not concocting. I try and do a much better job. I will take full blame. I'm one of those people that is concocting my response while someone's talking rather than listening to them, digesting it, and coming up with my response.
You're a talker.
I'm a talker. If we haven't gotten to that. I'm going to have to check myself, make sure I'm not rambling too much. But I do, these definitely cross over. Yeah. But
it's human nature to just want to be right too. Even if it is, I mean, that's just human nature. So you throw in long days, a little bit of lack of sleep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't the perfect day. All those are stressors that add up to you. It's easy for your listening skills to dwindle when that happens and be a little snappy. So,
these were good.
Yeah, these were good.
I feel like we could do another one of these.
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
Maybe we will. You want to wrap it?
Yeah, let's wrap it.
Episode 2 in the books.
Yeah.
I think we got to get to episode. I've heard this before, but most podcasts quit after either 3, 4, or 5 episodes. So we're gonna, when we get to double digits, maybe we'll celebrate or something.
Yeah.
So, but 2 in the books, feeling good. Please rate, review, subscribe. Share.
And we've got an email list. We'll be sharing, when new episodes drop, all the things. So please, and share it with people that you think would find value in what we have to say. Because we're going to go all over the spectrum. But like he said, this is just going to be a casual conversation between the two of us.
Yep. We're growing too. So any lessons we learn along the way, we're certainly going to share.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.